The Lord be with you. I'd like to invite you to find a seat. You'll notice good food at all the tables. And we're going to go ahead and get started with our opening prayer. Dear friends, let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those who take counsel during our annual parish meeting for the renewal and mission of your church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Now I know I told you this to sit, but we're going to stand and sing. You'll see the hymn right there in your booklet. Here's Michael.
So we're going to sing the first two verses of this hymn. And why, I might hear you asking, are we singing a song about Zion at our annual meeting? Zion is not a place. Zion is you. The church is often referred to as the ship of Zion. So this hymn is not a prayer for something to happen in the future, but for action in the present. And if you don't know the hymn, you're in luck, because the first four notes are the same notes as Fly, Eagles, Fly. So just launch right in and you'll be fine. We're going to sing the first two verses.
Speaking of the record, we are now going to appoint our secretary for the meeting as well as our vestry secretary for 2026. I am very grateful that Amy Humer said yes to serving as our secretary. I'm wondering if someone could move that Amy would be our secretary. Bevan, it's funny that you did that, Bevan. And we have a second with Sharon. Let the record show our minutes. Any questions, comments? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Congratulations, Amy. Thank you very much for being our secretary. Okay, we're going to move now to last year's minutes, which Bevan did such a great job of recording. And you will see those minutes everything's in order here in the booklet. By the way, I really hope that you will take home these booklets. A lot of hard work went into the reports and all of the activities therein. So please take these home with you. take the time to read the reports because you will see God powerfully at work here at St. Thomas. So take a look at those annual meeting minutes. Does anyone have a page number? Is it 4? Page 4. Page 4 and 5, I think. Take a look at those minutes. I'll give you a second to look at them to make sure they're accurate. We also have them up on the screen here, if that's helpful to folks. Could someone move approval of last year's annual meeting minutes? Jane Hamilton and Bill Lutz is a second. Any questions, revisions, comments? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Okay, the minutes pass. We're going to move now to our elections, and it is my joy to invite Mikey Fernley and Jim Pasquarella, the co-chairs of our nominating committee, to come forward.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Yes. Good morning. I am Mikey Fernley. This is my colleague, Jim Pasquarella, and we are co-chairs of the Vestry Nominating Committee. In a moment, Jim will introduce to you the nominees for our Vestry. The nominating committee is appointed by the Vestry and is currently made up of 9 people. 3 current Vestry members, myself, Jane Hamilton, and Bevan Moscovici. 5 non-Vestry members, Jim Pasquarella, Cheryl Brown, Stacy Smith, Laura Thayer, and Jim Weiss, and our rector, Father Dave Colleen, who acts as a non-voting member. I'd like to take a moment to thank the members of this nominating committee. You were gracious in giving your time and sharing your ideas. Thank you. It is so, so appreciated. Members of the committee usually serve a 2-year term. The committee builds a list of nominees from a variety of sources, including church commission members, parish volunteers, and suggestions from the vestry and clergy. Our work takes into consideration the leadership needs of the vestry, the goals of the parish, and the experience and expertise of potential nominees. Jim?
Good morning. This morning we will elect 4 vestry members, 3 new members, and 1 member for a second term. The following individuals were identified by the nominating committee and invited to accept the nomination, and graciously accepted that nomination to serve 3-year terms. This year's slate includes Max Cummings, and I'd like to ask these nominees to stand as their name. Thank you. Max Cummings. Carol Coco Jarvis.
Hold the mic close to your mouth.
Let's start over to make sure this is official. We'll have Max Cummings. This way?
Yeah.
All right, the 101 is complete. Thank you. Max Cummings, please stand. Thank you. Carol Coco Jarvis. Matt Tucker. And standing for election to a second term, Amy Coomer. And in serving the diocesan and deanery rep role will include Liz Wendt for a second term, and also Deb Buck as our alternate. We believe that each of these candidates possesses unique spiritual gifts and an unwavering commitment to the St. Thomas community. We believe that each of these candidates possesses unique spiritual gifts and an unwavering commitment to our community. We hope that you will support these nominees as presented. This concludes the report of the nominating committee. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, someone could make a motion to approve the slate of nominees both for vestry and diocesan convention. Andrew Layton has made the motion. Is there a second? I saw Margie Els. Margie Els will be the second. Okay, are there any questions? Anything you'd like to share? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. We'll do it by voice acclamation. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Okay, thank you very much to everyone who is giving of their time and their talents to St. Thomas. We greatly appreciate you. It's time to say thank you to our vestry members who are stepping down. And we're going to do them one at a time. And if you could just hold your applause to the very end. And Mother Amy's going to assist me with some gift giving. We'll invite folks to come up. And as I said, we'll wait to do the applause till the very end. Mikey Fernley, you can come forward, Mikey. Mikey has been a dream to work with on the vestry. When she tells you that she's going to do something, she does it. And she does it with grace and good humor, whether it's pastoral care, parish life, the nominating committee, to name just a few of the areas that Mikey has worked on recently. Mikey has faithfully led us in a way that truly empowers others. She is a servant leader who has boundless love for her late husband, Bob, who is with us in this communion of saints, her family, especially her grandchildren, and she'll show you lots of pictures on her phone, and her church family. Mikey, we love you. Charles Porter. Charles, come on up, buddy. Charles has a quiet strength about him. He's a deep listener, but when he speaks, you listen. Charles also asks incisive questions, and God has given him the spiritual gift of encouragement. He is always there for a supportive word for his fellow vestry colleagues and the clergy, and I can tell you that we are dearly going to miss Charles's wit and the snacks that he brings to vestry meetings. Whenever Charles was in charge of snacks, he would bring a veritable feast. Thank you, Charles, for your ministry. Bevan Moscovici. What in God's name are we going to do without Bevan? She is more than a vestry secretary who managed to keep a very unruly bunch organized and prepared. She is a transformational spiritual leader, active in our strategic planning, history, altar guild, personnel, and probably 20 other commissions. But the thing that I appreciate most about Bevan is her compassion for others, whether it's her students at school or the members of St. Thomas. She has a heart for those in need and doing something concrete to address those needs. And her faith inspires me and all of us. Jane Hamilton. The finest senior warden with whom I partnered in ministry. She is our Moses, our Miriam, who has followed God's call to lead the people of St. Thomas from Egypt through the wilderness and into something like the promised land of healing and renewal. Jane has led us with spiritual depth and maturity, grace and patience, conviction and firmness when it was needed. As a psychiatric nurse, she is a caretaking consultant extraordinaire, author, and deeply faithful disciple of Jesus. Jane is wise as a serpent, but innocent as a dove, as Jesus says. And speaking personally, Jane has always picked up the phone when I called her for advice, which is almost daily. And even though she has a very full life with lots of other responsibilities, not once did she tell me to leave her alone. At every step, Jane has been a true partner in ministry and a person with whom I could pray, laugh, be vulnerable, and learn from. her impact on St. Thomas will be felt, and I truly mean this, for generations to come. And she's not done yet. She's not done yet. Jane will co-chair our Faith in Action implementation team in the years to come. And she's going to be leading this along with Patty Owens, who actually chaired our Faith in Action task force. And so if you know Jane and Patty, you know this, they get stuff done. And you can be sure that God's dream for St. Thomas will become a reality. Now, I have a report somewhere in that booklet. You'll notice the strategic plan right next to it. My report has entirely to do with the strategic plan because it touches every area of our common life. But know that Jane and Patty, we are in very good hands because they're going to be helping the vestry, myself, the clergy team staff implement God's dream for our community. So, Jane, we're going to clap for you, give you a gift, and then you're going to say a few words to us.
I'm moved deeply, and thank you all for your recognition this morning. But I thank you most importantly for all that you have contributed to us as a parish, moving through the wilderness and down into the depths and up and around and over and down and whoa, I didn't do this myself. I've had a wonderful, wonderful team of people working with me and people working silently that I didn't even know about. One of the things that I have realized is that the Holy Spirit isn't just hocus pocus. I think one of the things that I have learned in this experience is that God's Spirit is real and is with us. And when I look at St. Thomas's and the journey that we've been on, it is very clear to me that God has been with us in this journey and will continue to be. And I thank you for the privilege of being able to serve you and to serve along with you. And I look forward to continuing to be an active part of this parish that I love. Thank you.
Deacon Phil. Where's Deacon Phil? Come on up, buddy. Now, we had hoped to say goodbye to Deacon Phil Galiebter back in January, but it has snowed every Sunday since then. Phil, that's what happens when you leave us. I mean, come on. Deacon Phil started soon after I did, and his ministry has been a healing balm to me and to our whole congregation. Deacons bring the light of the gospel to the streets of the world, and they also bring the needs of the real world to the church. So their ministry is one of bridge building and faithful witnessing to the reconciling love of Christ for all people, especially the poor, sick, lonely, and those who are vulnerable. Deacon Phil has inspired us through his work with the Clare Project in Kensington. He's preached powerful sermons that have challenged us to see the needs of the marginalized and oppressed. And quietly, behind the scenes, he's been there to pray with you and bring you communion in the hospital or in your homes. His steady and compassionate presence will be missed by all of us, not least the staff, who loves his dry sense of humor, his down-to-earth style, and his genuine concern for others. We can't ever replace Deacon Phil, but we can take some comfort knowing that we are part of the same diocesan family, and he won't be a stranger. Deacon Phil, we have a small gift for you as a token of our love for you. Let us thank Deacon Phil for his ministry.
I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. When I came here, this is 180 degrees different from any parish that I had ever served in before. My parishes were all in Philadelphia in the inner city, and this campus and the size of the congregation, the fact that I had a desk, were very much different. And I've got to know a lot of you and had time to pray with you and talk with you, and you have challenged me, and I hope that I have challenged you. And I feel like I'm leaving a family. So I just want to say thank you very much, and thank you to Dave for the sermon this morning. I think that was something a lot of people were glad to hear. And I've watched you guys grow. I mean, when St. Thomas White Marsh is known throughout the diocese, so when something bad happens here, everybody knows. But when something good happens here, everybody knows. And this last Christmas, we had over 1,100 people at church. And that is because of the welcoming of the people of this congregation and the wonderful work of the staff. And you have a clergy team now that's going to lead you to bigger and better things. So thank you so much.
Back in the mid-1800s, Ellen Sheaf founded our first school. The building is still there. It's those stone buildings on the corner. And if you look up on the roof, you can see the little bell tower. They would ring the bells to bring the children in. It was both a public school and it was also a Sunday school. So education for children, youth, and adults is part of the spiritual DNA, if you will, of this church community. Here to tell you more about our preschool ministry is Andrew Layton, a member of the vestry, who is the vestry partner for our preschool. Andrew.
Thank you. Hear me? So, like Dave kind of mentioned, Sherry, who's the preschool director, and Kelsey Hellman, who is the preschool board chair, asked me to fill in for them. They're exposed this weekend, so I'm happy to do so. I'll read the report, but I'll also sprinkle in a little kind of personal anecdotes as someone who has two daughters in the preschool. So like I said, happy to report that operating in full capacity, roughly 110 kids, 20 teachers, that's 8 classrooms. Ages 8 classrooms, ages 2 to 5. And so if you're here Monday through Friday and it's nice, or sometimes even if it's not nice, you'll see the kids wandering the campus in their snow gear, which is really phenomenal. I asked my daughters what their favorite thing is. It's going up towards the barn. They wander up towards the barn and they kind of just wander around all morning. I think the big highlights traditions are like it's listed here, the Halloween parade is a blast. The Christmas pageant is truly, it's amazing. It's really awesome. You have to get there like an hour early if you want a good seat. And it's funny, the one thing, like I said, the personal anecdote, my wife and I will sometimes get in arguments over who gets to pick the girls up, because it's such a joy to go down there and just see everyone and everything. And the thing I would kind of call out is the fact that I think in the past two accreditation visits, that has been remarked upon by our accreditors and our inspectors, just the overwhelming joy of the school when you go down there. And you can feel it, you can see it. So that's really, those are all really the phenomenal things. Like I said, they have yoga, they have chapel. Thank you to Mother Amy, just for the way that she's leaned in. I think this has maybe been said, but she wrote personal notes to every single teacher at the start of the year, which made that makes a big difference. It shows a lot. Michael and the Beezer program is fantastic. They do kind of yoga movement. I mean, the girls come home and show us their yoga poses, which is pretty funny. So really, it's just, it's an amazing place. Like, I attended preschool 35 years ago, I think. So now to have my daughters there and to be able to come and see it, God is at work in the church and God is at work in the preschool. And I think we are doing a better job of integrating the school and the preschool together. There's an increase of preschool families now coming into the parish, which is fantastic. I think if you're in the, on the page, the preschool, the financial report, so it's roughly $72,000 deficit. So that is largely related to teacher salaries, a kind of imbalance in after-school care, meaning that not as many kids are staying in after-school care, but we still have to have the appropriate teacher ratios, and then just increased cleaning expenses. So what I will say about this is the fact that this is on the radar screen, and there is a plan already being enacted, but also continuing to be fleshed out to bring this back in line without having to rely on really kind of onerous year-over-year in tuition increases. That would be burdensome. So what I would say is if you have additional questions related to the preschool budget, preschool operations, Dave, myself, or the preschool board members are happy to answer those. But I love the preschool. I am, when all 5 of my children are graduates one day, it will be extraordinarily sad, but also very joyous. So thank you.
Andrew, thank you so much. I want to invite Sharon Werner to come forward. Sharon leads our retreat to St. Thomas Ministry. She also oversees the White Marsh Learning Center. And Sharon is truly building bridges between our campus here and the greater community. Under her amazing leadership, she has radically expanded the amount of groups from the community that are using space here. I want you to remember that we were not an Episcopal church, you can believe this, until about 1818. Before that, from 1698 to the early 1800s, we were a church for the whole community, a kind of the original non-denominational church. And so this place has always been common ground for the White Marsh community, and Sharon is making it even more so. Please join me in thanking Sharon for such an amazing ministry, and she's here to tell you more.
Thank you, everyone. Preschool is a good segue. We're going back down the hill to this old schoolhouse. So for those of you not familiar, White Marsh Learning and Wellness Center is part of the building down here, and it's been renovated, and we use it for delivering quality, affordable workspace, programming, and meeting space to our neighbors. We have our art studio down there, massage, all kinds of wellness options, and it's been a great option to cover the expenses of 2 of our oldest buildings on campus, actually. Rental income does cover all regular building and landscaping expenses. However, we did have a difficult year this year with needed repairs, including heating, septic, and building repairs. We no longer host the art gallery in that space as a public option, but our Blooming Peas, who our owner, Dawn Marie, who is one of our parishioners, runs the Blooming Peas Art Studio. She exhibits work from their classes, and if you haven't seen it, please come down sometime and take a look. It changes often, and it's a great example of the great work that she's doing as well. We also recently moved our group support room to a recently vacated office and replaced the floor in the old room to accommodate future yoga and wellness classes. And we're also hoping to install a secure exterior door in that room and make it more accessible for all to get in on that ground floor. Switching over to the retreat center, we're actually concluding our third full year with 42,000 in rentals, which is an increase from 15,000 the year before. We have a lot of repeat business from groups such as local school retreats, corporate multi-day training sessions, garden groups, and community fundraisers. We continue to be a part of celebrations like birthdays, wedding anniversaries, and family reunions. We're also beginning to market to wedding reception sites, and we already have 8 receptions booked this year that are outside of the parish. Cornerstone Martoma congregation still meets every Sunday afternoon in McCausland Chapel. They have hosted and participated in outreach projects and in some of ours as well, and they held their first vacation Bible school over last summer. We also just signed with Resurgence Church in Flowertown. They actually do not currently have a church home, so they use our space for weekly newcomer and bi-weekly volunteer meetings in the Cary Learning Center, so we welcome that new group as a frequent user as well. We have several theater groups that are using our space for classes, camps, and shows, so you'll see a lot of young talent running around in here in the coming months. We also have various events open to the community, such as mostly walled social dances and our second annual holiday craft fair. We actually have a big increased interest in dance groups as well. So if you like to dance, keep an eye on the calendar for those open events. And then Julie Lawson and I have been working with local historic sites to bring the celebration of America's 250th events to our area. The Retreat Center is actually hosting the kickoff event in April, and we are also planning additional planned history and community events throughout the next year or two. And that will bring a lot of additional people on campus. We are targeting to bring some activities in for family and children as well to increase that. And finally, in keeping in line with our Faith in Action strategic plan, the Retreat Center focuses on Goal 3, call to go forth into the world. We have impact on all the strategies by bringing people of all ages, races, and backgrounds from the wider community to St. Thomas's, creating awareness of our church offerings, exposing them to a possible church home, offering a welcoming and supportive experience, and creating partnerships with other churches, organizations, and outreach opportunities. It's amazing the number of people that come to take a tour here and have found us and say they always pass by here and they never knew the extent of what was on the hill here. So we've gotten a lot of increase in exposure to people who are looking for spiritual community, come to help at the barn, come to walk the labyrinth. So it's been a great ministry to just see the increase in the number of people that come and find the joy here. We do welcome support in larger event and fundraising opportunities. If anyone would like to volunteer, if you're interested in events, just see me. And we thank you for all of your continued support. Thank you.
Sharon mentioned the Martoma Church. That means the Church of St. Thomas, which has its roots in South India. And I think it was very providential that they approach us about leasing space for worship, because of course we are also the Church of St. Thomas. Now, if you know the St. Thomas logo, you'll recognize in it that there is a carpenter square and there is a spear. The carpenter square harkens back to Nehemiah in the Old Testament and the rebuilding of the city walls of Jerusalem. And that figure from the Old Testament is linked to St. Thomas because St. Thomas was the builder. He was a missionary to the Church of India. So our namesake, St. Thomas the Apostle, traditionally, throughout church history, is the one credited with bringing the gospel to India. How amazing is it that in the 21st century, we have this new mission church meeting right here on our campus. So God is so good. God is very, very good to call financial leaders like Phil Ansbach, our accounting warden. And you've heard me say this before, that the financial life of any church is an outward and visible sign of the spiritual reality within. That's why Jesus spoke so much about money. He actually spoke about money more than many other topics because, as he said, where our treasure is, there our hearts will be also. You know, budgets are a representation of the values that are in our heart. So we're very grateful to our accounting warden, Phil Ansbach's ministry. How about thanking him? Thank you for his hard work. Oh, please be seated. That's fine.
Well, good morning. Before I start, I did want to acknowledge something that is really important to me, and I'm very grateful for it. Dave and Sally Williams and Jillian and probably others made the call, and you all responded because for the first time in 3 years, we have a surplus. So, bad technology. Okay. Just quickly, the church, the preschool, the cemetery, and for the first time in 3 years, we have a small surplus with the church. And the biggest single factor that moved the dial from red to black was contributions from the parish. That made the difference, and it will continue to make the difference because the contributions from you all account for about 70% of our revenue. So that makes a huge difference. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is the budget versus actual results. The last 3 years and this year, we're forecasting deficits. This is the first year that we've actually made it across the line. Luckily, it's always been not as bad as we predicted, but there are some challenges to determining exactly what the next year will look like. So, moving on. If you want to know where your money goes, half of it goes to personnel. That's the expense of the church, and we're fortunate to have the staff that we have, incredibly talented, incredibly hardworking, and I think they're worth every penny. It'd be great if they took fewer pennies, but they're worth every penny. Property speaks for itself. The diocese is our contribution to the diocese, of course. And then other is just all the admin expenses that we encounter. Some things that are sort of important, I think interesting to point out. To get a sense of the cost that we have to confront every day, because they show up every day. In 2025, the amount of money that we spent on healthcare equaled the entire cost of the admin staff. So, I mean, there are some expensive things that we need to provide, but they are expensive. In 2025, we had a snow removal budget of $20,000, and we spent $39,000. So far this year, we spent $50,000. And that doesn't include the last snowstorm. So just to put it in some point of reference. Okay. This is sort of the history of it. The thing that is most impressive on here, aside from not a deficit, is that contributions have grown every year. And that, as Dave pointed out this morning, a sign of a healthy, vital, growing church. Because the parishioners are saying this is something that we value. And so the red line is our expenses, the blue part of the graph is contributions, and the green part is the other income. Okay. If you want to know what goes where, these are the different categories of income and expense. There's not much I have to say about it, but this is how the income is generated, and this is how it's spent, or where it's spent. Okay. Here, what I wanted to show you was the two wedges that are separated. Something happened to it. The whole thing fell apart. Well, I didn't do that. The two wedges that were separated were the Keystone gifts, which were large gifts that Dave and Sally and others were able to secure from you to support the church. Unpledged donations are just what they say, that we get money from various sources, from parishioners and non-parishioners. It wasn't pledged money, it was just money that came in for a variety of reasons. And then contributions is the blue piece, the large piece. The reason I separated them is they're unpredictable. They were here last year, they might not be here tomorrow. So to rely too heavily on them can be problematic. So the blue wedge, the blue piece of pie, is the one that's most important, because that's pledges that are made. It allows us to forecast what we can expect, and if you're all faithful in fulfilling them, it makes everything much easier. So that's where the income, go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm long talking here. So some of these things are easier to predict. We know what endowment income is going to be because that's calculated thanks to Bill Lutz. We know what that's going to be next year. Earned income and other income, we have a pretty good handle on it. Sharon's done a fabulous job. She doubled what we thought we were going to get, so thank you, Sharon. But as I say, the contributions are unknown. We have to make some assumptions, some guesses, but it is a little bit of a challenge. The expense side is much easier to predict, unfortunately, because there are a lot of recurring expenses. So half of it's personnel. I do have to point out one comment that I was asked to relay. Michael Smith wanted me to point out that most people come to church for music, not for the service, and so he thinks that we are drastically underweight at 5%, and it is the best bargain in church. So did I get that right? No, it isn't. I mean, it's a pretty good return for your dollar. So property, this one fell apart too. Well, anyway, the original looked much better than this. I don't know what happened. So that's, the breakdown. Property obviously is a significant part. The diocesan pledge is about $100,000, so that's a significant expense. But that's the source of our expenses. Moving on. Okay, this is looking forward. We go into 2026 with a lot of momentum. Parking lot's full, church is full. We finally have a surplus, so that is the good news. The contributed income, the people from pledges and non-pledged donations, that's grown. That's also a sign of a healthy church. We haven't used debt. We haven't used any funds from the endowment. We tried, Bill says no, so we can't get it. But I think we've been very disciplined about how we funded the church several years ago with the help of Tom Ells and the Finance Committee. We've put money aside, sort of the rainy day fund, and we've been able to cover our deficits without tapping into debt or the endowment. So that's a good thing, but that means there's less reserves if problems happen in the future, of course. We reduced the endowment draw. If you don't know, every year the vestry determines what percentage of the endowment can be used to fund church operations. And for a long time it was below 4. We increased it to 5 because we needed to, and this year we've reduced it back to 4.75. So again, that's a good sign, and part of it is because the endowment has grown $2 million over the last year. So we've got a bigger number and a smaller percentage, and that will actually generate more revenue for the church. So these are all the good things that are helping us prosper and move ahead. But you can't have headwinds without tailwinds, or have tailwinds without headwinds. Because we've had deficits, we've used our reserves. We still have some, but again, it's not a bottomless bucket that we can constantly draw on. Keystone gifts were these large gifts that individuals made. There's no commitment that they'll do it again. I mean, maybe they will, maybe they won't. If those aren't there, that will have a significant impact because even though it was a surplus, it was a fairly small surplus. So that's something we have to pay attention to. We have significant capital improvement plans for the campus. We want to convert Churchill Hall back into a rectory. We want to relocate the offices down to White Marsh Learning Center. We need a new HVAC system. Okay. That's not a cheap thing. So we've got some significant expenses on the horizon. We think we've figured out how to fund them, but that's going to be a challenge as we move forward, because it's not the things we know that concern us, it's the things we don't know. It's the things, what will happen. We had a storm go through here, 3 years ago? $70,000 in tree damage. We didn't budget for that. And, as you hear from your financial advisors, past performance is no guarantee that you're going to do it again. There's a group that has been meeting for almost 5 years now, looking at ways to generate revenue for the church beyond the hill. If we can find revenue generated in a meaningful way, involving some of the property here. The diocese does not want churches to sell property. St. Thomas does not want the church to sell property. So we're looking for ways to try and generate revenue from the property without selling it. And Tom Ells and Matt Tucker and a number of people have been working on this for a long time, and hopefully that will bear some fruit soon. So I've used up my time, so thank you. And Dave.
Phil has been amazing, as has been Tom Ells and the members of the Finance Committee. We are so, so grateful for them. And at this time, you heard about revenue. We want to hear from Sally West Williams and Jillian McGowan, who is our consultant for both stewardship and communications. They're going to come forward with a report now on our stewardship, which focuses primarily on annual giving, but also on legacy giving, bequests. So you'll be hearing a little bit about that, also from Bill Lutz, of course, who is in our endowment. But Sally West Williams is truly a disciple of Jesus who lives and breathes biblical stewardship. The gift of her time, talents, and treasure. She inspires me every day. Please join me in thanking Sally for her leadership.
To say nice things after Phil set me up for next year. But Jillian, who is absolutely Sally, do not embarrass me to say thank you. But I did ask for an opportunity before we get into the nitty-gritty of the stewardship year to say thank you to everyone in this room and to people beyond. Because stewardship in 2025 truly was an exciting, remarkable, successful year. And that's not me. Disciple of Christ is the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me, but this is truly such a team effort. And I'm a baker at heart, and so when I look at our stewardship years leading up to 2025 and then at 2025, I think, so what's the recipe for success? Because you can't predict what you're going to be faced with, but you can look at it and see things that work. And so my first thank you is to the incredible leadership of Dave, now Amy, and Michael. But the leadership of the staff is so strong, and that's a big difference. Not that we didn't have good, strong leadership in the past, but in our bumpy years, from a stewardship standpoint, from people's confidence in supporting the church and where it's headed, that was feeling a little shaky for a bit. And it really turned around last year. And as a result, we had more people giving more dollars in creative, wonderful, strengthening ways. And good begets good. And everybody wants to be part of something good, and that also. It just grew into a wonderful thing. That's why when Phil says, yeah, but guess what? Boom! We have a deficit this big in 2026, and we have some things. It's all true. Every year, the recipe has to adjust to whatever the known and unknown challenges are, and it's never going to be cheaper operating anything in the United States of America. Every year we have to pay more health care and more oil and all the things that we have to do here on this hill. And so we all have to kind of give God's gifts back to him in ways that we can. So another shout out to Jane, who
inspired the vestry, and Jane and Dave showed up to stewardship meetings. Who does that? Other than the stewardship commission, who is phenomenal and just great to work with, but showed up at every meeting, and Jane took our needs and our messages back to the vestry. The vestry participated themselves 100%, which is what everybody in this room has to do, 100% to get us to the number where we are right now with 2026. So I just thank you all. It's been a really great year behind us, and the problem with stewardship is that bucket, it just gets dumped out, and you have to go back up, and you have to go back up a little higher. And we'll do it. I have every confidence we'll do it. And if we don't, Phil's going to come and kick me. So, thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sally is the most wonderful chair of commission, the stewardship commission to have. So, she inspires us every day and sticks with us when things are looking a bit rougher, and then celebrates with us and is so motivational and supportive of what we do. So thank you, Sally. So I was thinking to myself, I was here this time last year with about 6 months under my part-time belt at St. Thomas. And I was thinking, okay, we've got a few challenges ahead of us in 2025. But from the little bit I knew of the community and of the leadership, I felt we could do something. I felt we could reverse the challenges, and that's why I was delighted to have the conversation with David to stay on as the stewardship consultant. So let's see if I was right. Every stewardship presentation, you may remember this slide from last year. I always start with this slide because stewardship does not work in isolation. And it's not just about annual pledging, which I know someone has mentioned before. So we have the annual pledging, which I will talk a fair bit about today. But there's also other elements. Keystone gifts have been mentioned. They're the capital gifts, they're the leadership gifts, and they have made a tremendous difference in 2025. Planned giving, we'll talk a little bit about that under the leadership of Cheryl Brown. Planned giving is so important, it drives the endowment, and we've had fantastic news in 2025 with planned giving. And finally, another element of stewardship is grants, the search for grants. So those 4 things really make up my radar when I'm thinking about stewardship. Looking at the environment, stewardship again does not live in isolation. It doesn't just come about in the autumn when there's a stewardship meeting goes out. It is year-round, and it is a byproduct of the core activities of any organisation that operates stewardship and fundraising. So, what environment? I've made the leap from the university sector to the church sector, and I'm trying to think, well, what are the indicators? What are the stewardship drivers of the church? What are the levels of engagement? I always say a gift is a moment in a relationship. It doesn't define the relationship, it's the relationship that triggers the gift and the giving. So attendance is an obvious one that would drive stewardship. Ministry activity levels, there's been phenomenal activity levels this year. I'm on the communication side of things, and I'm communicating those events, and wow, there's tremendous momentum there. Member retention, so the loyal, long-standing members, are they sticking with the organization? And obviously then new blood is new blood coming in. So they were the 4 stewardship drivers I could kind of, on a very high level, look to indicate what the church stewardship drivers would be. So let's see how we did on them. And by the way, thanks to somebody who flies very much under the radar and is knitting away there, it's Susan Hunsicker, because she got all these figures for me. Susan does so much work for us in the office and in a very low-key way, so thank you, Susan. So I looked at the 3-year average, going 23, 24, 25, so they're full years, and this is average Sunday attendance. So you can see where it's going there. Very positive trends. Looking at Christmas, somebody mentioned, I think it was Phil. Phil mentioned where we were at Christmas. Nearly 1,200 people were here for Christmas in 2025, and you can see the growth there. So that's again, in the environment we're operating in, that's, from my perspective, this is a very positive thing for stewardship. Newcomer baptism, looking at those. This is looking at 3 full years and 2026 year to date. Bear in mind, we've only had 2 months of this year when you see these figures. So far this year, we're nearly matching in 2 months what we did in 2024, and obviously 2025 is a banner year for baptisms. Newcomers, we didn't see any in 2023, but it speaks for itself. So again, that driver of stewardship, very positive environment. Now turning to the annual giving trends, again, there's 2 full years here, and 2026 year to date. This is the pledging to the 2026 campaign, and remember, we're only 2 months in. So 2024, we were just under 700,000 in terms of pledges for that year. 2025, we just got slightly over, I think it was 808,000. So clear rise there, clear momentum. And 2026, what do you think we did? Higher, lower? Yeah. We're at 900,000. So that's tremendous growth. It is remarkable. From any stewardship sector that I've seen, from spending a career in fundraising, this is remarkable progress in 2 years. I would have expected this progress maybe over 5 years. So everybody in this room, all the membership, you've really stood up for St. Thomas this time, and it's incredible to see. Looking at the donor distribution, I'm getting a little bit granular here, so I won't spend too long, but us fundraisers, we use what's called a gift pyramid, and it looks at the spread of donor dollars. So, sorry. Okay. So typically in a fundraising model, you would see that as you go up the pyramid, you're reducing your number of donors, but you're increasing your average donor amount. So your baseline will always be more donors donating less of the total amount. So this is in percentages. So the bottom rung there is gifts of $1,000 and less. And so 44% of donors in 2023 donated 6% of the value at the level of $1,000 or less. And as you can see, you go up the pyramid. Industry averages are the figures to the right. But you can see there's also heavy dependence on the apex of that pyramid. So in 2023, 22% of the pledges were coming from 2% of the members. So that's not a great scenario. It's typical, but you always want to look as a fundraiser how your donation spread is going, and is there over-reliance and not enough base support. So that was 2023. I'm not going to take you through every year, don't worry. I'm just going to jump straight through 2026. That's phenomenal. I've got a better way of comparing the two in the next graph. The blues are 2023, the oranges are 2026 pledges. So you can see it's a much more even spread with the oranges compared with 2023, where we're in a more vulnerable position. You can see that the top has increased. We've gone from 2% to 3%. Doesn't sound like much, but when you're dealing with bigger value pledges, that's important. That's a good jump. And you can see that there's a far more even share of the burden, if you like, across the membership, across the amounts being donated. That is really healthy. In fact, that is surpassing industry standards in terms of the spread that you would want to see. So again, well done, St. Thomas. Capital gifts, keystone initiatives, or leadership gifts. They have been instrumental in turning around the deficit to a surplus this year. Fundamental to reversing, Dave and Sally led that. I had nothing to do with it. They did a great job. But we needed that to sustain a balanced budget. And as Phil said, we never know if they're going to come back, or maybe they will, maybe they won't. But it has been a critical part, and I know there's some in the room today that have made those capital gifts, and thank you. You've made a fundamental difference to the budget. Planned giving. Cheryl Brown would kill me if I didn't mention planned giving. It's a vital component, and it is I always say it's the most thankless yet rewarding task of a fundraiser, because quite often you hope as a fundraiser you will never be around to see planned giving mature. because a big part of plan giving is bequests. So we had phenomenal news this year. We had a magnificent bequest. Is this gone? Oh, well, I'm very loud anyway. So we had a gift, a bequest come in from Edwin Probert and his partner Philip Monster, over $1 million. We're still waiting because it has to go through some stock exchanges and stuff to realize the full value. But that is going to have, it's starting to have a tremendous effect on the budget and on the endowment, which is so expertly stewarded by Bill Lutz. They'll keep an eagle eye on every cent that goes through that endowment, as we would want. And the bulk of that magnificent bequest will go to endowment, which will carry on St. Thomas for future generations, because there's only a percentage drawdown from endowment. So again, if you haven't already considered making a bequest or making a planned gift to St. Thomas, please do. We have the 1698 Legacy Society. We currently have 66 members that we know of. So we only know if you tell us if you want to be a member. And I'm pleased to say we're having on the 26th of April a lovely event. Michael's going to lead us with Evensong, and at 4 p.m. we'll have a reception, a 1698 reception, which all are invited to. Thank you. Thank you. And again, thanks to Sally and Cheryl for their wonderful leadership on the plant giving side. So in summary, I was right. I love being right, it's a rare occasion. We did meet the challenges and we went beyond the challenges. You blew out of the water all my expectations, that's for sure. It's been remarkable 2 years. Very grateful for the momentum, but as you've seen from Phil Allenspot's presentation, there's always more to do. Sally said the bucket's always emptied, so there is always more to do. But I stand here like I stood here last year saying I am confident that St. Thomas will do it. So thank you all for your partnership, and I want to thank each member of the Stewardship Commission. They're a really fun group to work with, and I enjoy it tremendously. Thank you.
Giving, whether it's of our treasure, our time, or our talents, is truly a spiritual practice. It is a way to put our faith in action. And what I like to say with giving is really there are 4 steps when we think about financial giving to the church. You know, if we're not currently doing that, let's just start giving. The amount is not that important. Just start to give. If we are giving, consider then to make it more intentional, just like we would in our prayer life, and consider making a pledge. It's never too late to make a pledge. Certainly the campaign happens in the fall, but you can make it at any time of the year. If you are pledging, then we want to invite you to think about moving to proportional giving, which is you're thinking internally, I'm not committing so much to an amount as a proportion of my annual income. Typically, if you look at the United States of America, most people are giving about 2.5% of their annual income to charity, not just to the church, but to their charitable giving in general. And so what I encourage folks to do is think about moving from whatever percentage you're at right now. Let's say you're at 2.5%. Maybe next year you move to 3% and onward, incrementally. Don't make too big of a jump. And then lastly, think about moving towards and going towards the biblical standard of the tithe, 10% of your income. And as Jillian talked about, one of the most selfless ways of giving is to leave a planned gift in our estate when we go home to the Lord. And the wonderful thing about that is we give that gift in full knowledge that we're not going to personally benefit from it. It's like planting a tree. That tree will provide shade for the generations to come. That's what the endowment's all about. So Bill Lutz is going to tell us more about what's going on with the endowment. Bill, how about a round of applause for Bill?
Thank you, Dave. The best news I heard today was when Bill said they did have an operating surplus. And you do know where that goes.
I know.
I don't want it to take 5 months. It is the only place you put the money, and it probably will grow.
You got your tent outside Michelle's office, so I know you're ready.
Well, I'm not going to talk about this. There's a lot of facts and figures in this report up here, but I'll give you the highlights of 25 from the endowment point of view. It was a good year. It increased by 11.8%. And this is net after distribution. And it grew by about $1 million in 1 year. And it paid out 5%, which in dollars was $340,000. Now the highlights for 26, can't talk about the performance, but we do expect a positive year. And we'll pay out 4.75. Now, and that actually comes out to $352,000. And that is 3.4% higher than what we paid out to the church last year, which is in excess of the inflation. So the endowment is actually paying more dollars, more buying power than it did last year at the reduced rate. And we do hope over time to get it back to 4%. And hopefully we'll take it down so that if we can do this, so that we will each year pay out more to the church. Now, a little history on the endowment. In 1905, we had basically $5 million. And 10 years later, in 15, we had about $6 million. But 10 years later, at the end of 25, we had approximately $10 million. So that's very good growth, and we hope to continue it. And basically how we do this, we have 3 policies and numerous resolutions that the endowment committee operates under. And we do get some new money, but we do very prudent investing, and we have very, I would say, strong oversight over our professional investment managers. We give them pretty much freedom, but we do give them a hard time on the performance and why they do certain things. And we want to make sure that all the money which is donated to the church for endowment does get in quickly. We've had some problems in the past. And I would say tight control over all distributions from. Now, all the distributions from the endowment is approved by the vestry. And we usually do it a year ahead. And then we don't hope for unapproved or illegal withdrawals from the endowment. I personally am not on the approval cycle, but I am on the reporting cycle. So I do see them the next time. Now, I think due to the size of our parish, our endowment should be considerably higher to help maintain the land, the buildings, and you know, we are an arboretum now. We have hundreds of trees which have to be maintained, and the beautiful grounds. And it would be very good if the endowment could cover a good portion of this. So we would like to grow. Now, one of the easy ways to help grow it would be to leave a legacy gift and become a member of the 1698 Legacy Society. And it's a very easy thing to do. But I'd like to point out that a gift to St. Thomas, your church, will probably have a lot more impact than it would to your school or your college or to a national charity. And we do try to manage that money very well. So I would encourage all of you to leave a legacy gift in your planned giving to the church. And they're usually given to the endowment. And the endowment will give a little benefit to the church for a very long period of time, year after year. And the way we manage it, we do try to have the endowment grow, at least with the inflation rate, so that we can continue to give at least the same purchasing power in future years. Do you have any questions concerning endowment? But I would encourage you to think of St. Thomas in the planned giving, which others have spoken about. Thank you.
sometimes when you think about planned giving, you think, oh, I have to go to my lawyer, and I got to do this, I got to do that. You really don't even need to do that. You can, for example, an IRA, you can put the church as a beneficiary, one of the beneficiaries, secondary or third, whatever. It could be as easy as that, right? Insurance policy, same type of thing. So it doesn't always have to be a big production in order to make a planned gift to the church. We have been so blessed with an amazing executive committee, a senior warden like Jane, a junior warden like Tom Morgan. He is going to be giving you a report on our property. But as he comes up, I want to make sure that you all know that our new senior warden for 2026 is Tom Morgan. Tom, come on up.
Great saying about running churches, that churches are run by a coalition of the willing. And, so my answer the last few years when people said, well, why are you the junior warden? And the answer is because I was dumb enough to say yes. And now the answer is, why are you willing to follow a great senior warden like Jane? And the answer is, I was dumb enough to say yes. So with that, our property team of the church is really made up of 4 groups. We have our in-house property staff, and we have 2 commissions and 1 board. Our in-house team is ably led by Melissa Lynch, and includes Felix Torres, our foreman, Juan Raxon, and Carol O'Donnell. Our commissions and our board are the Buildings and Hardscape Commission, and the Landscape Commission, and the Cemetery Board. So we were able to stay in our budget for repairs this year, in part due to the work by our in-house property team. They repaired the outdoor steps and some lamp posts. They replaced the ceiling tiles in the Hutchinson room and the back room. They performed minor electrical repairs and plumbing repairs. And Melissa led the negotiations or renegotiations of a number of service contracts where we saved some money. So that's a really important part of our being able to make our budget this year. Buildings and Hardscapes, they've been working on a number of studies and efforts. As Phil mentioned, we're getting ready to repair the HVAC system in the church. We're close to finalizing that contract, and it will also include replacing the outdated alarm system in the church. Brooks Pritchard has been ably leading that, so thank you, Brooks. It's been a couple-year effort of study on which type of system to go with, and then an engineering design, and we're again getting very close to moving forward with the actual installation. Among the other repairs that BHC led was the treatment of the rust and repainting of the steel structure over the Carey Center entrance. That was Matt Tucker who led that one. And the Muhlenberg plaque was rehung. And Peter Burns, John Rogers, and Tim Russell led that with big help from Steve Bitterman. And finally, we're studying, as Phil mentioned, the office and rectory locations and what will happen there, but no decisions have been finalized yet. And Steve Bitterman and John Rogers are leading that effort for BHC. Our Landscape Commission is led by Kay Sheldon, and they did an amazing job this year. They brought in significant funds through their own efforts from generous donations, a successful grant application, and several fundraisers. Overall, they paid for landscape repairs outside of the church budget with an excess of $50,000 that they brought in. It's an amazing, amazing job. And they celebrated Arbor Day with their preschool. They cleaned up and replanted gardens. They had to help prune and treat trees. And they cleaned up that grove by the former Pardee driveway off Church Road that was very in bad shape. And finally, the cemetery board is led by Bill Potts. They contributed to the tree maintenance. They repaired more than 20 monuments using funds from their revenue stream, as well as payments from family members of those. Some of those were honored by those monuments. And they continue to work on, with leadership from Pete and Kristen, mapping the cemetery and updating the database of the cemetery. So that's a very quick report on some of the activities this year that we've done, and there's been a great job by our 4 teams.
You might remember, and I think it was Phil who might have mentioned this in his report, that we are still studying converting Churchill Hall, which is currently the staff offices into the rectory and then moving the staff down to the White Marsh Learning Center. The vestry has not yet made a decision on that, but we will absolutely communicate with you and keep you informed as the vestry does that work of discernment. We're going to have some time for Q&A, but even before we do that, I want to say thank you to our hospitality team for their hard work on putting together our lunch today. Are there any questions that you have for myself or for other leaders here in the parish? Julie?
What is it, the Keystone Initiative? What is that?
The question is, what is this Keystone Initiative? These are special gifts made by, I think we've received about 12 or so special Keystone gifts to support the mission and ministries as we are recovering for the last few years. You can kind of see that trajectory we're on. So these were special gifts to help us build a financial bridge between where we've been and where God is leading us. So these were gifts that Sally and I sat down. We invited those of some households here in the parish, and we've been so grateful because there's been such generosity. And that has really helped us to balance the budget. So we give thanks for those special gifts. Debbie, and then we'll go over to Wendy.
So what happens with the building that's sort of outside of the choir area, that stone building, and the cottage where Emily was? What happens to
Groton
that?
House and the cottage.
Groton House. Groton House will actually become what is called Parish and Pine. And this is a new initiative headed up by our own Matt Tucker. And this is going to be leased space from Parish and Pine, which is a wonderful enterprise that will be refinishing furniture, some of which will be over at the barn, others which would be sold to the public, but it's going to be a new ministry of the church that could involve potentially young people and refinishing that furniture, so it's very, very exciting. So that's going to be the Groton House. And that, we don't know how long that'll be, but it's a wonderful use right now. Now, in terms of the cottage, we're going to also need to do some renovation work on that as well. And so as soon as we make a decision on the White Marsh Learning Center and Churchill Hall, then we'll be able to turn our attention to making some improvements in the cottage. And the current plan is that Mother Amy and her family would be over in the cottage. Wendy.
I don't know if it's the right time to ask, but how is that planned renovation of those two, making the rectory and the renovation of the church or the schoolhouse? How are we funding that?
Great question. How are we going to fund it? How are we going to pay for that work on Churchill Hall and any improvements that we do in the White Marsh Learning Center? I'm going to make sure that I'm looking at Phil and Tom to make sure I don't say anything out of order. But I think we'll be using for Churchill Hall that some of the monies would be taken temporarily from the Probert bequest, which came in, which was mentioned earlier. We received, really, thanks to God's grace, a $1.6 million bequest that came in from the Probert bequest. And so the money would, in the immediate term, come from that source and then be rolled into a capital campaign once we're ready to launch a capital campaign. Did I say that correctly, guys? Okay. So since the capital campaign, I've already brought that up. Because of what we've been through over the last, let's say, 6-7 years, there's been a lot of deferred maintenance on our buildings. And we can see that. Whether it's in the church, we have an organ that every once in a while goes haywire and ciphers and makes those strange noises. We have some work to do on an organ. We want to refresh the church. We have Churchill Hall, the cottage, the White Marsh Learning Center. I mean, there's so many capital projects that could be done. But one of the projects that we're going to do in 2026 is have a professional study of our buildings and grounds to help us identify what are our most urgent needs. You know, what are the things that we have to do now, and what are the things that can wait? So it is highly likely, just to plant a little seed out there, highly likely that we're going to be talking about a capital campaign here at St. Thomas in the not-so-distant future. Could be a year from now, could be less, could be more. We will keep communicating with you about that. But what we want to do is come together as a parish to renovate these buildings, which of course facilitate mission and ministry. When it comes to our buildings and grounds, at the end of the day, it's all about Jesus. It's about people meeting Jesus, growing in their relationship with God, and growing in their relationship with each other. And we want to have buildings and grounds here that support that mission and that we're all proud of. So it's likely we'll be doing a capital campaign fairly soon. Other questions? Glenn, did I answer the question? Okay, good. Other questions? Okay. So I'd like to invite Mother Amy and Deacon Phil. Deacon Phil, if you could give us the dismissal after Amy prays us out. You know, I have a feeling 50 years from now, I'm going to be remembered for the guy who brought Mother Amy to St. Thomas. How about a round of applause for Mother Amy? Help us go from strength to strength. I'm so grateful for her leadership and ministry. Mother Amy's going to pray and bless us, and Deacon Phil, if you could dismiss us.
Well, and first, can we please acknowledge the exceptional leadership of Father Dave? Truly a priest and a pastor who is leading us clearly into an exceptional era. The Lord be with you. And also with you. Take, Lord, our work and our worship, our hearts and our souls, all that we have and call our own. You have given all to us, and to you we return it. Everything is yours. Do with it what you will. Give us only your love and grace, for that is enough for us. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be among you and remain with you always. Amen.
Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Vestry members, if you could gather over in the Hutchinson room.
Nice to meet you.
I was nice to meet you.
Vestry members will gather over in the Hutchinson room.
All right, I'll take her. All right, see you all. Sorry?
Margie?
So I'll see you Wednesday. See you Wednesday?
There was a meeting